Saturday, May 9th, 2015, Canelo Alvarez crash lands on one James Kirkland and knocks him unconscious in the third round. Disappointed in the results of this fight, but can't say that I'm surprised, because as soon as they announced the fight, I said James Kirkland is being led to the slaughter like a sacrificial lamb, and that's exactly what happened. Oscar De La Hoya waited to catch James in a very vulnerable position where he hadn't fought in nearly 2 years, and then they went after him, threw gobs of money at him, and James felt that he couldn't say no to the opportunity. So the layoff is one of the things that worked against him, certainly, and one of the reasons he had the long layoff. Another big problem is his promoter, 50 Cent. So we all know that 50 Cent is still a relatively new promoter in the game. Seems to be learning on the job, but doesn't really seem to have a business system down pat yet. Doesn't really seem to have the contacts that he needs to make things happen. Consequently, his fighters are not fighting on a regular basis. That's very bad, because world-class athletes need to compete at a high level on a regular basis. Okay. In the case of James Kirkland, he had not fought since October or November of 2013, and that was the Tapia fight. And so here it is, a year and a half out of the ring, and you step in to test your skills against the champion of the world, the guy that's been fighting on a fairly regular basis. That's a prescription for failure. But we shouldn't be surprised, because last year we saw the same thing happen to another 50 Cent fighter, Yuriorkis Gamboa. Again, out of the ring for over a year, thrown in to the ring against a young lion by the name of Terence Crawford, and of course the lion ripped him to shreds, tore him up, and knocked him out. And I believe that if Gamboa had been fighting on a regular basis, the fight would have been a lot more competitive, because I'm not on the Terence Crawford bandwagon yet. When he won the title against Ricky Burns, he fought very tentatively. Fortunately, he came out on top. Then they throw him Yuriorkis Gamboa, and they celebrate that victory as if it was the greatest thing in the world. It wasn't. You fought a shell of Gamboa, a victim of extreme ring rust. So, let's call that what it is. And then he has a victory against Thomas Delorme, nondescript, no-name fighter, which most people outside of boxing circles never heard of the guy. So the jury is still out on Terence Crawford, but that's a different subject. So to get back to this, hopefully, this upfront money that 50 Cent is paying his fighters, hopefully it's worth it to them, because their careers are going nowhere fast. In fact, their careers are derailing. Another factor working against James in this fight was not having a world-class trainer, Ann Wolfe, in his corner. He's never lost a fight with Ann Wolfe with him, and the last time he fought without her, he was knocked unconscious, knocked out, and again, here again, May, fighting without her, he was knocked out again. Why? Why, James? Why would you not want to have Ann Wolfe with you? Well, he claims that the reason is because he wanted more this time around. He wanted to bring more to the table. Well, what more are you looking for other than winning every single fight that you have had with her? Okay, so what more is there? The only more I can think of is that you wanted more of your purse, because she would have had to pay her more than this local trainer that you scooped up. So that's the only more I get out of it, because other than that, it just doesn't make any sense. If you got a winning formula going with her, if it's like they say, if it ain't broke, why are you tampering with it? So, he paid the price again, of not having her. And, so that and the long layoff, even during the long layoff, James says, oh yeah, well, I've been in the gym, so I've been staying sharp. I'm going to call bullshit on that. I don't believe that, because most boxers are not like that. It's a very strange sport, one of the few sports where these fighters take months and months off in between their fights. Look at Maidana. Hasn't fought since the last Mayweather fight, and last I've heard, the guy's weighing 170 pounds now. So, sorry, I'm going to call bullshit on that, James. I don't believe that you've been in the ring on a regular basis. He brings in this trainer that doesn't have a track record, and then he brings in a guy who's a pretty good strength and conditioning coach, apparently. Self-proclaimed anyway. But even if the guy is all that in terms of strength and conditioning, that's great. You got your six-pack abs. That's a lot different than being in fighting shape. Being ready to go, getting your skills sharp, getting your reflexes sharp, getting your combos and your defense down pat. So he stepped into the ring. Canelo was the much sharper fighter, much more accurate puncher. I mean, it was an action-packed fight as long as it lasted, the 3 rounds, right? Reminiscent of a Hearns Hagler. These guys are slugging it out toe to toe. It was all about Canelo that night. A couple of times James had him against the ropes. That was a calculated move on Canelo's part when he saw James, swinging crazy like that. And he just stayed composed and covered up because he knew that James would get winded. And then after James got winded, he would come out and start doling out the punishment. So, very smart fight for Canelo. And again, a very easy opponent, tailor-made, flat-footed guy that hadn't fought in forever. They unwrapped him from the cobwebs, marched him out there to get destroyed. Left hook like this, something James is going to be feeling for weeks and weeks. Vicious combos from Canelo Alvarez. This is the uppercut that put him down. James just took too much punishment, and these accumulation of these blows to the head and the body at a certain point just made James very sleepy, and Canelo finally put him to sleep. It was good night, James Kirkland. So, I certainly hope that James can come back from this. With the team that he has around him now, that's not going to happen. So, again, hopefully the money that 50 paid you up front, and hopefully the money that you made from this fight, was enough and was worth it to you. I mean, when a fighter gets a call to fight for a championship, it's hard for a fighter to say no. That's why fighters are supposed to stay ready. So when you get that call, you're ready to step into the ring. In this case, no way in the world was James Kirkland ready to step into the ring. But it was a big fight, probably the biggest payday of his life, and that's why he took it. But that's short-term thinking. So this was the biggest payday of your life, but had you turned it down and stayed patient, you would have had a career with many more fights ahead of you and many more paydays. So, again, short-term thinking, and I'm just disappointed and disgusted by the loss. And that's it. That's all I have to say about it.